Liminal puzzle games. More than a walking simulator and less than a traditional indie horror, liminal puzzle games hold a special place in the indie game landscape. They sit in that eerie in-between space. You get it? Because liminal means in-between? Yeah. Games like Exit 8, Platform 8, and Shinkansen 0 feel closer to immersive experiences than typical games, blending light storytelling with heavy atmosphere to create an actual compelling experience. And to really figure out the formula behind these games, I challenged myself to build a liminal puzzle game in under a week. In this video, I'll share what I discovered and offer a few tips for creating your own. So join me, won't you, as we figure out what makes liminal puzzle games so darn fun and special. Also, just a quick self-plug, I speedrun making different games in GameMaker and Godot and all that fun stuff, so if you like game dev or speedrun style content, please check that out. And please like and subscribe. This channel is new and it's so helpful, like that algorithm is no joke. I just want to make helpful content, but here we are. To me, liminal puzzle games feel like a natural evolution of the walking simulator. Think back to games like Dear Esther or The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. In these games, exploration drove the narrative. You'd find notes or recordings in seemingly expansive landscapes that were usually tied to small paths. But what if, instead of rewarding the player for exploration, a game punished you for ignoring your surroundings? What if we turned the player's environment into a puzzle itself rather than a passive backdrop? Enter liminal puzzle games. In a way, you could argue there's nothing new about confined space puzzles, and hey, you'd be right. From classics like MacVenture's Uninvited to meme games inspired by the Backrooms, many have found similar success in this space. But games like Platform 8, Exit 8, and Shinkansen 0 distill this formula, pushing it beyond a gimmick and a larger story and letting the liminal space shine as the star of the show. In these games, you walk around closed environments that repeat, looking for anomalies or differences between what seems like the exact same room. They're familiar yet unsettling, taking place in realistic environments like train station and generic corridors. They're often brimming with ads, flickering lights, and sterile textures. You'll notice a stark contrast here. Minimal story, yet maximum emphasis on the environment, textures, lighting, and sound. It's this focus that places liminal puzzle games firmly within indie horror, even when outright horror elements are harder to find. Well, that and all the Shining references, every modern indie horror game has to have at least 3 Shining references. I don't make the rules. To see if this really was the working formula, I decided to make a mobile liminal puzzle game of my own. Since I'm on a time crunch, Silent Hill 2 Remake was about to come out, I decided on a small nostalgic space, an apartment building's elevator and anteroom. Well, specifically, the elevator and anteroom in my old apartment building. By choosing a personal, familiar setting, I had a ready-made foundation of creepy details. A worn-out red carpet, dimly lit drop ceilings, and just so many personal ads. The experience reminded me just how critical it is to work with specific memories and details. A vague setting might be easier to design, but it misses that real, relatable quality that makes liminal spaces so unique. This also helped me focus on scope and scale. Since the plan is to deploy on mobile, I would have to balance the complexity of my assets with realism. Designing game assets as you figure out an art style can be sort of like a magic trick. As long as they match artistically and thematically, then it sells the illusion. And we always want to be thinking of how we can sell the illusion and still achieve our original vision with minimal resources, as this frees up our resources to make other cool things. Since I have a background in graphic design, I dropped out of art school twice, I knew I could lean into designing fake advertisements that crowd the limited space and kind of give it a lived-in feel. And since this is a puzzle game based on attention to detail, it would help to put in as many small textures and bit of graphic design as I could. These were simple plain meshes in Godot, but seeing them plastered on the walls like the personal ads and public service signs started to sell the illusion. I also focused on the textures and lighting, as much as possible given the limitations of mobile, but I pushed for as much atmosphere as possible. Even with, and because of, basic materials, lighting, and assets, the feeling of being in between environments really starts to shine through. To meet my deadline, I limited myself to a few essential tools. Simple meshes in Godot and, when necessary, basic models from Blender for more intricate objects like beveled or cutout shapes. By breaking down each task, building a prototype, programming dynamic rooms, asset designs, I was able to deploy the game to the App Store within a week. And here's a quick sped up clip of that process. I'm doing this with my mouth. It is really amazing how even limited visuals can create a powerful atmosphere when backed by intentional design choices. The confined setting, mundane advertisements, and attention to lighting and sound elevated, get it because elevators are liminal spaces, the space far beyond what I expected. While it might not look like much compared to some of the other games we researched, I would consider this experiment a success. But hey, if you're watching this thinking, I could make something better, then I hope you do. I would love to play that game. So in that spirit, I'll leave you with a clip from my original draft, which I wrote and planned on coming out with a month ago. This game was made in under a week in October 2024 using the free and publicly available Godot engine. If you like this game or hate it, please consider making your own. Make it better with better graphics and controls. When we all make games, games get better. Boom. Thanks for watching.